Hello, everyone, and we're back at it here with the Rogue Deck Chronicles, and we're on episode or part two of the Perfect Order set review. Um, if you can, please take a look at set one or episode one, part one. It kind of lays down the foundation of what we're talking about with this Perfect Order set with the Pokemon trading card game. But of course, I'm not here doing this by myself. I have Dev with me. Dev, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, honestly. I'm excited to talk about this new set and the new environment of rotation. And this is a set that we've been honestly waiting for since Christmas. So it's a card. These are cards are been waited for a very long time, and I'm super excited to talk about these Pokemon today because again, we talked about the trainers, we talked about the impact of those trainers, and now these are the Pokemon that get to play with those and be able to really utilize them to their fullest capabilities.
Absolutely. And before we continue the conversation, Devin, can you kind of like give a review about like the context of this set? Why is this important? The thought processes that we have when it comes to our discussion here, and also kind of introduce our more formal rating system of the cards.
Yeah, absolutely. So these cards are obviously a new set means new additions to the card pool. But these cards are also being compounded with rotation, which means cards are being removed from the card pool at the same time. This set introduces the J regulation mark, which means this is a new era of Pokemon marks in terms of its standard legality. And the block of cards from 2 years ago, we're talking Scarlet and Violet base cards. Those are the ones really getting removed from the card pool. So we're losing about 5 to 6 sets. We're introducing a brand new set, and that's what the rotation is all about: is reshifting and rebalancing the card pool for the standard format. And then for these cards, you guys have kind of heard in our set reviews in the past. We talk about if a card is like a four of in a deck or four of in your binder. Uh, you'll play this as a one of tech or two cards in your list. So now we're formalizing that into a more of a rating system for us. So our cards are all the cards we talk about today are going to be rated between 1 and 4. All because a card is rated a 1 does not mean it's a bad card. It just means it's more of a tech specialty card into a deck, and those still have important value into a deck in terms of its how great and good it could be. A good example of that would be Mega Mawile. Mega Mawile is a good number one rated card. It's a good card, but it's really just a one of in a deck because it's really good as a finisher and as a closer, so you don't need four of them. Another example of a really good four would be Pokepad. We talked about Pokepad in part one of the set review. Pokepad is a four of in almost every single deck. It is a really good search card. It's going to be inserted in every single deck. It is a universal card. So that's a solid four when we're talking about what those type of ratings really mean. And we've always talked about it indirectly. This is really just us formalizing this, and hopefully that kind of helps people understand the impact we think these cards can have going into the sets. And you'll be seeing us kind of forecasting some of these cards, so where we're like, oh, this card's a good one. Now it's a good 1 or 2. Like you're going to see a couple here, but if this condition is met in the future, it could jump up to a 4. So we're going to really try to forecast because with rotation, we're losing a whole bunch of cards, and we only know so much at this point in time of the meta.
Absolutely, yeah. We understand that some people take advantage of the singles market. They don't have the opportunity to buy booster packs or bundles or anything like that. So we figured the formalizing this rating system helps with really planning out what you want to get, because we all know money, everything is a finite resource, and we want to just help you all kind of give our opinion of what a card will be, either in this format or for future formats. That way, if you're planning on building decks, you know what to buy.
Absolutely. So if we say this card's a 4, it means we think you should have 4 of these in your collection, which means if you don't want to buy the product, you can buy the singles, buy 4 of these. This is a pseudo. It's
Mhm.
a rating system, but it's also a buying guide at the same time.
Absolutely. So, with all that being said, I think it's time to get into the Pokemon. If you want to see our thoughts and opinions on the trainer cards, the items, special energies, tools, and supporters, take a look at our part one video that can be found both on all podcasting platforms and on YouTube. And while you're there on YouTube, go and like and subscribe our channel. We're always looking to add followers and people to enjoy our content. We are a small YouTube channel, and this is a passion project of Dev and I. So we're just trying to really just expand our channel to everyone. So if you can, tell your friends about us. Like and subscribe does help us with the algorithm, so people can see our content more. But yeah, we just like talking about Pokemon and sharing our opinions with y'all. So with that being said, Dev, you ready to talk about some Pokemon with the perfect order set?
Absolutely. Let's jump into the Pokemon. This is the the meat and potatoes of the set. Really, it's all the what the set's all about, and we're gonna go in the order that the cards traditionally are released in terms of set numbering. So we are going to start with the grass types and move our way down. So the first card I want to talk about is the Superior. So Superior is a stage 2 grass Pokemon of 160 HP. It has two attacks. One that doesn't feel great, the other one is sneaky good. So the first
Mm-hmm.
one is Royal Command, is for a single grass energy, and it has a 20 times multiplier for each of the Pokemon that you have in play. So really is capped at most of the time 120, maybe 180 if you have modifiers and bench manipulation, different things like that. It's not the greatest thing, but it's a very efficient attack if you want to understand your damage caps. Um, but the attack that everyone's really paying attention to is the second attack for Solar Winder. It is for 3 grass energy. It is 100. If you have a Rosa's encouragement in your discard pile, it does 150 more. So it's 3 energy, 250 if the Rosa encouragement support card is in the discard pile. And 3 energy may sound like a lot, but you have to remember it's a grass type, which means it can be taking advantage of the Meganium energy doubling. So it's really just a 2 attachment for 250, hitting in the grass weakness before damage modifiers. So it can one shot a lot of things. And if you hit into, I don't know, Zolwork, Mega Zygarde, you can one shot these big beefy boys because of the weakness mechanic. So it is a very interesting card. I think having one Rose's Encouragement in your discard pile for this is not hard to do. On top of the fact that you could also use Rose's Encouragement to accelerate this card and get it powered up out of nowhere and then get the damage buff. So it has a really good synergy with itself with that Rose Encouragement supporter.
Exactly. I was actually going to point that out. It's like, you could just play Rose's Encouragement, put 2 energy from your discard pile to the Superior, manual attach. You don't even need to play Meganium. You
Mm-hmm.
can just make this a archetype in itself. But yeah, with different damage modifiers like Brave Bangle, you can put on there and do 280 damage, 280 hits Mega Absol for exact numbers, and Zoroark for
Well, it already
exact
hits
numbers.
Mega Absol weakness anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you can 280 can hit into Mega Kangaskhan if you have Monkey Dory as part of your bench. You can one shot that easily. It's just for a nice single prizer. This hits really big, and honestly, it's not that hard to get into play.
Oh no.
Um,
It has
so
its Force of Vitality. It has Grass has a lot of fun tools.
oh yeah,
And to me, just because of the nature of the card, it's a 4. Um, not saying this is a S tier deck by any means, but if you want to play this card, you don't have to run it as a 4 of. This is going to be the centerpiece of its own archetype. You can't really run it any other way. Even with Rose Encouragement, and you want to do it a kind of a Rose Encouragement deck instead of a Superior deck, this deck is designed to be a 4-2-4 line or a 4-4-4 line without the rare candies if you want to use the Force of Vitality. So this card is a 4 in terms of our rating system purely because of how it has to operate.
hmm yeah. I think this will be a fun single prize deck in the rotation. Again, not S tier, but if you're looking for something to really take to a challenge to have fun, I think this is going to be a great, powerful deck for you. If you're into the GLC, I think the Superior is actually a very good option to play in your grass deck. For 1 grass energy, you're doing 120 damage. that can hit into a lot of the decks in the GLC format with how that is. So it's very versatile in multiple formats, not just in the standard post rotation, but in the GLC as well. So this is going to be a great card, a great pickup. And really, it should be relatively cheap. I'm not seeing this card being a super expensive card.
No,
So take advantage of the how cheap it is and yeah, just get a play set of it and just have fun.
absolutely.
So the next card, or really cards that I want to talk about from the grass Pokemon is I think there's a nice pairing that's coming from this set with the Vivian and the Decidueye EX.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, I
So,
think this is designed to be a pair. You're 100% correct on that.
oh yeah. So the Vivian is another stage 2 grass type Pokemon, 120 HP. It has the Big Winds ability. Once during your turn, you may have your opponent shuffle their hand and put those cards on the bottom of their deck, and then they draw 4 cards. So, in itself, outside of the Decidueye that I will talk about, hand disruption, one of the few things that we have in post rotation that will disrupt your opponent's hand.
Yeah,
To me, that in itself is so powerful.
yeah. It's Let Loose Marshadow, but on a stage two. So it does kind of feel bad that it is on a stage two, but I think that's how they balanced it. Because Let Loose Marshadow was a basic that was super easy to find, and it just wreaked havoc when it was in the format. Heck, it even got banned in GLC because it's so dang good. But
Oh
I
yeah.
think on a stage two, it's super balanced on that. And putting the cards on the bottom of the deck, we don't have any way to really draw from the bottom of the deck, so it's like even more buried than normal. And then obviously that's paired with the Decidueye EX, which is another stage 2 grass Pokemon of 320 HP that has the Sniper Eye ability. If your opponent has exactly 4 cards in hand, ignore all the colorless attack costs for this Pokemon, and has the attack Crush Arrow for grass, triple colorless for 240, discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you do get the Pavilion in play, get them to shuffle their hand to 4, now you're doing Crush Arrow, you're doing 240 for a single energy, and you get the discard energy from their active. So you're putting 240 on them, you're you're slowing them down, and your hand disrupting them all in the same turn. Um, Obviously, this deck will run a 4 of Judge with this as well, just in,
Hmm.
on not just in case, but on the turns you don't hit the Pavilion. Because to me, even with Force of Vitality being a thing, the Decidueye is going to be a part of like a 3-3-3 line. And I think the Pavilion is going to be a 3-3-3. I don't see how you can run 2 sets of 4s in here with and still have some form of consistency with this. I think you cut down both so you can hit both a little more consistently. Because with a Decidueye, you don't need 4 Decidueye in a deck. Even with the consistency, sometimes attacking the Vivillon for 120 is not bad. Because you're going to have a stadium play because you have the Force of Vitality. And then you can clean up with the Decidueye, or you can sub the Decidueye and clean up with the Pavilion. You can kind of go back and forth on that. So to me, both these cards are a solid 3, but they're a solid 3 in tandem with each other.
Absolutely. And honestly, if you can find a way to get 4, this is really a 4 of on our rating scale. But we're just thinking realistically with just what is being required of this deck, and a 3-3-3 line of both Pokemon. It just makes a little bit more sense when you build a deck. Um, so that's why we're choosing that number. Really, honestly, it's a 4 of, but practically it's a 3. And I also want to talk about the Dartrix that comes out in this set as well. It's the stage 1 of the Decidueye line, and it has an attack for triple colorless phaser shot. Discard all energy attached to this Pokemon. Choose one of your opponent's Pokemon, and you do 90 damage to that Pokemon. So I've been looking at some Japanese lists with this archetype, and you play a one of Relicanth in there just so you can play do the attack from the Dartrix, because then you just have to discard one of the grass energy, I believe. If not, I'm pretty sure
No,
you also play ignition
it's
energy in
free.
this.
No, it's free. If you're doing the attack of the Dartrix as a Decidueye, you're doing that for free because of because of the Pavilion, putting 4 cards in hand. and the sniper shot saying you ignore all colorless attack costs. So that's a free 90 that you can do anywhere on the board and not have to discard because you don't have energy attached.
Even better. So I just wanted to point that out. That is a line that you can play in that deck as well. Um, taken from a card that's already in our existing format and finding a new home for Relicanth in this. But yeah, I think when I saw this, there was definitely a pair, and there's going to be some more pairs that we will talk about in the Pokemon set, this Pokemon portion. But
Mhm.
this is the first one, and I think this is an archetype in itself. And honestly, it's really a pretty decent archetype. And if you can make it work, like this is a strong grass deck that you can bring to a Cupper challenge.
Oh, absolutely. I think this is a fun cup or challenge level. I wouldn't bring this to regional. I think it's too inconsistent for regional, but it's perfect for league night or for a league challenge. And if you have a very dark and fighting oriented meta, this would be a great grass counter because Anzoric is weak to it. Mega Absol is weak to it. There's going to be plenty of fighting Pokemon weak to grass, so it's a really good typing just to take advantage of the weakness mechanic of the game. So for sure, I think these are going to be fun. I don't think this is going to break the meta by any means, but you can definitely have a great night at it, at a league night or at a challenge with it.
Absolutely. So that's all the grass Pokemon. And we're going to go into some fire Pokemon. And the next card, honestly, you had an idea. I had a separate idea of this card. And it's rare that we both were excited about the same card at the same time.
Yeah,
So I just want to talk about Salazzle EX. So Dev, what does Salazzle EX do?
so Salazzle EX is a stage 1 EX fire type Pokemon, 260 HP, has 2 attacks. First one for a single fire is Nasty Plot. Search your deck for any 2 cards and put them in your hand. As we talked about, there's not much hand disruption, so it's kind of safe as of now, but it's a dangerous attack. You never want your opponent to keep that information and keep that advantage. But really, the interesting part of the this card is the second attack for 2 fire energy, Fatal Nail, 100 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned and burned, and you switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. So with this, you can set it up with Magmortar for burn. You can set this up with Pecharunt for poison. You can set this up with walls. So your opponent takes 100 damage, then takes 30 damage minimum if you don't have any other status condition modifiers. And then you put in a Mimikyu, or no, Mimikyu's rotating. You put in a safeguard, like a wall Pokemon to some degree, and you can
Like
make it
Crustle or something like
like
that.
Crustle, like Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon. Like you can make this a hit and run deck very easily, and then just next turn rotate, switch out, and just keep on rotating that poison and that burn over and over and over again, and just turn into a hit and run deck.
Yeah, absolutely. That this is something that both Dev and I have thought about like independently. And when we were talking about this set, like we have to talk about Slazzle because if you put the Petra with the Magmortar with Perilous Jungle, I believe so. You're doing 100, and then you're doing what 70 more or 80 more damage with the Petron, so that 180, and then you're doing 50 damage with the Magmortar, so that brings you up what 220 for one attack
And
with
if
all the
they
modifiers.
and when they get knocked out from the conditions, you're not proccing Pheasantipity at the same time.
Exactly. So yes, it's two fire energies, not the easiest energy combination to get in to put on board at the same time. It's not two separate, so you can't take advantage of Crispin. But there's ways to get it done. You can always energy switch onto it. Um, but I think this is, like you said, this will be a fun hit and run deck, taking advantage of the status conditions. I'm glad to see Burn kind of play more of a role because typically we've been seeing Poison a lot, especially with the Brute Bonnet. But the Brute Bonnet and Ancient Booster Capsule is rotating. So the fact that status condition is still around in some form is very interesting, especially with us at the Rogue Deck Chronicles. That's kind of like my specialty is Poison. I know how that mechanic works really well. So I'm excited to kind of tag burn back into there and see how this deck really works.
Yep, absolutely. So it's going to be a fun deck. It's more of a nuisance deck than anything else, I think. And in terms of the rating, this is a card to me that's a solid 3. You want to run a 3/3 line of this in a deck. There's no real need to have 4 because you have so many other supporting cards. And it's a fun. This would be a deck you bring to League Night. Maybe a challenge because it can cause some headaches, but it's fire is not the best typing right now. It does not hit very many things for weakness, and it's weak to water, and water got really good in this set. So it's one of those situations where if fire was operating within a better ecosystem, like yes, there's a lot of grass out there, but you're not really one-shotting anything anyway. Even with the weakness, 200 plus conditions, yes, that's the KO, but you're still accomplishing the same. You're still accomplishing that KO without the weakness mechanic. So to me, it's a solid 3. Purely for the deck archetype it is. I would not go out of my way to buy it unless you really want to play this hit and run deck. But it is a fun card if you do end up pulling it.
Absolutely, a 3. This is a solid 3. Um, a fun rogue deck for sure. You're not gonna take this to a regional. You can, not saying you can't, but you won't see this top 8 a major competition or anything like that. But I can see you pulling off a challenge win with it for sure. So really, that was it for fire, in my opinion. So going into water, there's I want to say a controversial card, but I've been seeing a lot of opinions about Mega Starmie EX.
And it's not because of the card. Mega Starmie brings up a lot of opinions. It is a nightmare fuel Mega Evolution for sure. But the card itself, I think, is very good. It was very much undervalued when it got released in Japan. It has made major waves in the Japanese post rotation meta.
Yeah, I've been seeing some testing with it. Again, some people are not totally hype on it, but at the same time, you can't argue with the results. It was the first deck to win in the post rotation city leagues. So what? So Mega Starmie EX is a stage 1 Mega Water type Pokemon with 330 HP. Has 2 attacks for a Water Energy. Jet Blow, 120 damage, and you also do 50 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And then for a triple colorless, Nebula Beam, 210 damage. Attack damage isn't affected by weakness, resistance, or any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So 210 Shred.
Yes. For a triple colorless on an evolution means ignition energy. Just so that you don't have to have 3 water on it. You can do an ignition energy out of nowhere for this one.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
absolutely.
I think the jet blow was the attack that everyone was not the highest on. I think everyone was, oh, 120 50, that doesn't really mean anything. That doesn't feel great. But 120 50, 120 50, 120 50, we've seen this before in Buzzwole. We've seen this type of attack do well and make impacts for a long term match. 330 on a Pokemon weak to lightning is not a bad typing right now. It is very much protected because electricity isn't the greatest type at this very moment, and it gets weaker with rotation. In my opinion, it gets weaker with rotation. So I think if for this, it's a 3 of. You run this as a 3/3 line in a deck because you still need support pieces around it to do well, but it is still a really good card.
Yeah, and we see it being paired with Frostlass Monkey Dory as well, just because you can play off the ping damage with Monkey Dory and with the Frostlass's ability. Um, this was a very underrated card, and it just came out of nowhere. So if you're going to build a deck with Mega Starmie, I think 3 is a good number, just because you are, like you said, you need backup and supporting pieces to it to make it really work. Because 120 and 50 in itself isn't strong. It's what's paired with it that makes it actually a very formidable deck to play with. So
Absolutely. So with that being said, there's only 4 total electric Pokemon in this set, and really none of them are really that impactful. There's some rogue deck kind of pieces, but nothing super crazy. So I'm gonna jump to the psychic Pokemon. I'm gonna jump to the first one that we want to talk about today, which is Mega Clefable EX. And really, this is another pair. So I'm going to talk about Mega Clefable EX, which is a Stage 1 Mega Pokemon for 320 HP, Psychic type Pokemon. And the Romatisse is a Stage 1 Psychic type Pokemon of 120 HP. So Mega Clefable has an ability and attack. Its ability, Wings of Light, prevent all effects of your opponent's abilities done to this Pokemon. So this Pokemon cannot be Adrenablaned onto. It cannot get damage from Frostlass. It cannot be switched in by Hariyama. All these abilities affect Pokemon. Mega Clefable does not care about.
I think
It
the more important one is you can't get Curse Blast.
can't get Curse Blast. Yeah, absolutely. So Mega Clefable is protecting itself from a lot of very game-breaking abilities right now. Its
Mm-hmm.
attack is Shooting Moon for 2 Psychic Energy. It's 120 plus, and you may discard up to 4 energy from your hand. If you do 40 more damage for each energy discarded this way. So you can do up to,
280.
huh?
280 if you discard 4 energy.
Yeah. So not bad. Discarding energy sucks, but there's a whole bunch of energy recursion in the format. There's cards that want to have psychic energy in the discard pile, so there is synergy pieces to it. And the Aromatisse has the ability Fragrance Collection. Once your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 basic psychic energy, reveal them, put in your hand, and shuffle your deck. So you can just have 2 Aromatisse sitting on the bench, pull 4 energy out of deck, discard them with Mega Clefable, and you're doing 280 consistently every single turn. And then you can just recycle that energy back into your deck with a whole bunch of different cards in the like super rods and stuff like that. So you're not so you're constantly being able to do what you need to do. Um, to me, this kind of art type is you're running like a 3/3 line of Aromatisse with 3/3 line of Mega Clefable, and it's kind of just there with maybe some other psychic attackers. I need to look. I want to see what the deck really looks like. Um, but to me, both these cards in combination and separately are a 3 in our scale because you're really not wanting a 4 of in a deck. Now, for me, I would have 4 of Aromatisse in my binder just in case for something crazy. But as Mega Clefable as an EX, you really don't need more than 3 because if they knock out 2, the game's over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is a really good number for this pairing. Again, you don't want more than 3 of a mega in your deck because it really makes no sense. I get it for consistency purposes, but once they knock out 2, the game's over.
Mm-hmm.
And for the Aromatisse, I think, yeah, 4 of in your binder, but in this deck specifically, a 3. That ability is just super powerful. It's a great way to just get energy into your hand. So even if you want to play this outside of Mega Clefable, it's a great way to get your psychic energy from your hand. There's Mystery Garden in the format, so you can get the energy Mystery Garden, get um, more in your hand that way as well. So it serves more than just to power up the attack for Clefable. It really is a great energy acceleration. You're not accelerating to the Pokemon, but it's a great way to go through your deck, thin out your deck, and then draw with the other supporting pieces that are out there. So I'm excited to see what this archetype and these cards can do in the format. I will say again for GLC because I do play GLC at my shop. Aromatisse will. I think that's a good one. A good addition to the Psychic deck as well. Just to get get energy out of your deck and using different combinations to as a draw engine. That's very important in a format like GLC.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for Psychic, I think that's pretty much it. So I want to just jump down into fighting. And there's actually a pretty decent amount of fighting Pokemon that we want to talk about in this set. And the first one I want to talk about is a nice support Pokemon with the Barbaricole line. It's a stage 1, 130 HP fighting type Pokemon, has the ability Stone Arms. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic fighting energy from your hand to one of your fighting Pokemon. So the fact that you can use this just to put energy into play as a just a stage one, I think that's really strong. Um, for me, this is a 3 to 4 of in the deck, just because you want a lot in play. That way, you can get as much energy into on your board as much as possible, especially when you're pairing up with other fighting Pokemon that have higher attack costs. Um, and it's also I should be noted, this is one of the promo Pokemon as well.
Yep.
They did announce those Pokemon. I know by Barnacle's one of them. I can't remember what the other ones were off the top of my head. I just remember this because we were having a conversation in my Discord at my shop about this card. But I think this is a nice solid 3 to 4 for your deck. Definitely 4 for your binder.
Yeah, for sure. And even in the deck, running a 4/4 of this in the deck does not feel bad because even say the Barbarical gets put into the active because of the way the ability is, you can still put 3 energy on a Barbarical, hit for 80 plus any damage modifiers, and you're still doing something. So it's not a feel bad when it's in the active support Pokemon because it can still get itself out of situations. Um, the next card I want to talk about is a interesting card. It is Tyrantrum, which is another promo, pre-release promo for the set. It is a stage 2 fossil Pokemon, but it has 180 HP. It has the ability Tyranno Guts. If this Pokemon has any special energy attached to it, give it 150 more HP. So that 180 turns into 330 on a stage 2 single prizer before any HP modifiers. And it has the attack for Fighting Colors. It does 160. It's called Wreak Havoc. Flip a coin until you get tails. For each head, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. So you can do 160 fighting damage, so that can turn into 200 plus damage with Powerade. I Premium Power Plus or whatever it's called. I just call it Powerade. And you have a 50-50 chance of discarding at least one card. So even if you miss on the discard, you're still doing 160 plus damage because of how fighting is, and fighting's so good. The only drawback to this, it is a fossil Pokemon, so it does evolve from the Jaw Fossil card. But the Jaw Fossil is not a bad card because it is a 60 HP colorless Pokemon when it's put into play. It can't be affected by special conditions, and it has the ability Intimidating Jaw. If this Pokemon's in the active spot, attacks from your opponent's active Pokemon do 30 less. So in order for someone to knock out the Jaw Fossil, they have to do 90 damage to it in the active spot. So it is a fossil deck. It is prone to item lock. Item lock is a lot weaker post rotation. And I think everyone's always afraid of these fossil decks because it's a fossil deck, it's item based. If your opponent Badoos you turn 1, you're done. My counter to that is you're not facing Badoo every single match. Badoo is powerful, don't get me wrong, but Badoo's only in so many decks. You're not going to get
Mm-hmm.
item locked no more than maybe 1 out of every 4 to 5 matches you do. So if you want to play fossils, play fossils. I think the fear of item lock is an over exaggerated fear. I think this Tyrantrum can be very fun because you can attach the fighting rock energy or powerful rock energy to it to give it immunity to special effects and give it a HP boost. Or you can attach a prism energy to it or whatever you want to do to give it the extra HP. So, and you have a chance of milling your opponent. So I think this is an interesting deck. This is actually a card that was commented on a episode a month or so ago, saying we should do a deck on it. And I told the person, I said, I'll look at it. And I'm like, yeah, we probably should. I agree with the comment. So I'm excited to see what we can do with it going forward. Because of the style of this card, this is definitely a 4. You want to run a four of in your deck because of it, because it is a stage 2. It is going to be the focal point of the deck. So this is a 4 of in your binder and in the deck.
Absolutely. Just the ability makes it unique, which just tends to be a rogue deck in itself. Like this is going to be very interesting. This is actually a deck that I was talking to with my shop about, and we all have different ideas how to make this work. Neil Upper is actually a very good ace spec for this deck. I didn't really think of that initially but it's a stage 2. You can use it, and it will be the special energy to give you the boost, and it fulfills the attack costs. So there's a lot of interesting ways to make this deck work, and we're going to try our best to build a list around this. I know we did build a fossil deck a couple months ago that Devin was really excited about. And there's some pieces we may borrow from that because some of that is still going to be around. So be on the lookout for this list. This is definitely one of the ones that we are very interested in for sure. But yeah, let's just see how we can make this fossil deck work. Item lock is a thing, but again, Devin hit it on the head. It's not in every single deck, and we'll just have to play around with it. So, but yeah, definitely a 4 of, just because it's the focal point of the deck. You want to make sure you have the options to get it out.
Absolutely.
So the last fighting Pokemon that we want to talk about, we talked about this in a little bit of it in the trainer episode, where it's Mega Zygarde EX. So this is the main Pokemon, the mascot Pokemon for this set. It's a basic Mega Pokemon, 310 HP, and has 2 attacks on here. Gaia Wave, 200 damage during your opponent's next turn. This Pokemon takes 30 less damage and is for triple fighting. And then for 5 fighting energy, that's right, 5, Nullifying 0, which is what the Japanese set came from. For each of your opponent's Pokemon, flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 150 damage to that Pokemon. So we actually had a conversation about this. How it works is that, say your opponent has 5 Pokemon in play. You go each Pokemon one by one. Okay, Pokemon A, flip a coin, heads, 150 damage. Pokemon B, flip a coin, tails, doesn't get damage. You don't pick and choose which ones you do. You literally say, I'm going to do Pokemon A, flip the coin. Pokemon B, flip the coin. Based on the wording on the card. Again, we can wait for official interpretation and an official ruling on how that works. But to our understanding, that is how that attack will work when you play it.
Yeah, you have to declare the target before you flip the coin. So now you can pick the order however way you want. You don't have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can do 2, 4, 1, 3, 5. You can pick the order of the attacks, but when you pick a card, you're doing Pokemon 1, flip a coin. Pokemon 3, flip a coin. Pokemon 2, flip a coin. You have to declare the target, and then the coin flip happens. Most people are probably just going to go, all right, active, bench, 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 bench. Like, they're just going to go in the order that is the most convenient. But if you are going to run this card, what I will tell you, and I would suggest to you, is do not try to grab, if they have 5 Pokemon in play, don't try to grab 5 dice and then roll. Go one at a time. It will clarify the board state. It will cause less confusion on what damage goes where. And yes, it may be a little slower, but it makes sure that both parties are on the same page.
Yeah, because if you grab just 5 dice and roll it, you're not declaring anything, and you're actually not doing what the card's saying.
Yeah.
So be mindful of that. Make sure you're doing, like, sometimes going slower is better. If you're doing a cup or a challenge, you have 30 minutes. That's not going to make or break the game at all. Especially as being a 3 prizer, they only need knockout 2 y'all, so you have time. Slow down. Let's make sure we do the mechanic right. But yeah, like for me, I think this is another solid 3. Just because it is a Mega Evolution Pokemon. It's basic, so it's not really hard to get out into play. And if they knock out two of them, the game's over anyway. For your binder, maybe grab four for your binder, just because I don't think this is going to be an expensive card in my opinion. But I think this will be a very fun card. You have Pokemon like the Barnacle to get it set up in as quickly as you can. Five energy is a lot, especially being all the same type energy. So you can't really play a Crispin to attach to it to make it faster. You're really just trying to find other ways to power it up and just using the first attack whenever you can. There's no shame in doing the 200 damage. Like 200 damage is still pretty good.
You can power it up with a Mega Lucario. You can do damage to Mega Lucario, power it up, take the Mega Lucario out of the active. Yes, you're playing a double Mega build, but it powers it. I won't say it doesn't power it up out of nowhere. 5 energy is still a lot, but you're able to kind of. There's ways in fighting to accelerate and cheat energy costs, so don't be afraid of the 5 energy. There are ways to get around that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, y'all.
So the next card I want to talk about is the Veltal EX. It is a basic Darkness Pokemon, 210 HP. Has 2 attacks. The first one for double Darkness Colorless is Destructive Souls. Knock out each of your opponent's Pokemon that has 50 HP or less. And then the second attack for double Darkness Colorless is Dark Strike, 210. During your next turn, this Pokemon can't use Dark Strike. The Destructive Soul attack, I believe, is the most interesting piece. As a Darkness Pokemon, you can set your board up with a whole bunch of different ways to get damage on yourself, to push it over Monkey Dory. As Mega Absol Box has kind of shown, there are ways to get to the damage numbers you need to get in a Darkness deck. I know, Dean, you were very high on this card. I think you were wanting to play test with this. But I can see its value because it says for everything that has less than 50 HP or less is knocked out. You can board wipe in a single turn if you set your board up the right way.
Yeah, I actually paired this with the Salazzle. Just because you're not really not doing a lot of heavy damage, but with all the status condition modifiers, I feel like you're getting really close to knocking out all the Pokemon. So if you can play like with fighting in dark and really like use the Salazzle as a way to set this up and then kind of board wipe your opponent and just take 6 prizes in one turn, I think that is a strategy. Or honestly, you can just pair this up in Mega Absol box because you do that anyway with Mega Absol and just kind of clean up the board as well. This isn't a card that we're going to centralize a whole strategy around. This is more of a cleanup card. So I would say 1, maybe 2 at max in a single deck, just because it does need 3 energy to attack. And there isn't really a lot of easy ways to get dark energy on there. The only way I can really think of is the toxicity method. And even then, I'm not sure that's really worth it for a card like this. But it's a great tech for sure. Nice clean up Pokemon. 210 also isn't bad as well, but I think you really want to focus on the first attack with this card.
Yeah, for sure. And another card in a very similar vein is the next card I want to talk about, which is Mega Skarmory EX. Mega Skarmory is a basic Mega EX Pokemon with 260 HP. It has the attack Sonic Ripper for 2 metal and a colorless. And it says shuffle all energy from this Pokemon to your deck. Do 220 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. To me, this is a cleanup card. It's 220 snipe wherever you want at the cost of shuffling energy back in. This is a definition of a one of in a deck. This is not a deck. This is not a card that you're going to build your deck around, but it's a card that can come in, get powered up out of nowhere, or get powered up somewhat slowly, and just finish the game off by doing a 220 nuke somewhere that your opponent thought was protected. This reminds me a lot of Mega Mawile in terms of it just can finish the game out of nowhere. And I think it fulfills that role very well because it is a 3 prize liability. So you don't want to be playing this card until the end of the game anyway. You want to win that prize race by making them take a three prizer at the very, very end when they're maybe have already taken five. So to me, Mega Skarmory is a solid one. It does its job. It does its job very well, and it will fulfill a very strong hole in any metal deck.
Yeah, I think this is a solid one. I believe when you're building a deck that has metal Pokemon in there, it's going to be, do you want Mega Mawile or do you want Mega Skarmory?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they both serve the same purpose. Mega Skarmory seems like a little bit more efficient in that role just because it's a solid 220. And we've been seeing this really paired a lot with Steven's Metagross EX just because that's the easiest way to power up Mega Skarmory in one shot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, versus there is the Metal Maker way of doing it, but that's not always a consistent way to get the energy in play versus Steven's Metagross EX is. So that is more or less probably where you're seeing this card fit into a deck. But of course, it's any way where you can get 3 energy on there out of nowhere. This is perfect. It snipes your Pheasantippities. It can snipe some of your basic EXs out there. There's a lot of support EX Pokemon that this will really feed on. Again, this is the one of the cards that we're talking about. Like, we're going to say it's a one of in a deck, but this is probably one of the strongest cards you can play in a deck like this. It's not a bad card at all. It's just you only need one. You don't need multiple.
Yeah,
And if you're going to do more than one, I would say 2 just for consistency. It's not that you need it. It's more of like you don't want to prize it.
to me, it does its job very well, and it doesn't need to be a four of to be said. Hey, you do a good job. It is a one. I would say you get two for your collection because sometimes you may want a two for consistency purposes, but it's a solid one all around for sure.
Oh yeah, this is probably one of the strongest support Pokemon that we have in this set. I know some people are not as hype on the Mega Skarmory as others. I think this is great if you're playing metal type Pokemon or a deck where you can get metal energy out very easily.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So speaking of metal Pokemon, I was actually really hyped with this next card. This is going to be a very fun single prize deck. And we're going to talk about the Doublade, not the Aegislash. We're going to talk about the Doublade, the Stage 1 Pokemon.
Yep.
Um, for 2 colorless energy, Sword Stash 60 times. You may reveal any number of Honedge, Doublade, and Aegislash from your hand, and you do 60 damage for each card you reveal. That's it. You're not discarding it. You just basically say, hey, this is my hand. These are the cards. And say bye-bye to your Pokemon. This is a very fun single prize deck. You can easily do big numbers. And with cards like Lana's Aid, Sacred Ash, Max Rod for your Ace spec that you may want to do that. A lot of your energy recycle or your Pokemon recycling, you can consistently do damage over and over again. I've seen this paired with both the Metal Maker build and with the Stevens Metagross just to get the colors energy into play with using Metal and or Psychic. But I can also see this being paired with Crispin.
Yeah. I mean,
So
you are doing so if you have all four Aegislash in your hand, you're doing 240 right there. And if you have any of the other pieces, you can easily eclipse the 300. Um, honestly, you want to have like 2 to 3 Honedge in play at any given time, or 2 to 3 in combination or Doublade in play. That way, you can kind of just streamline your attackers. The Aegislash is just going to sit in your hand. They're damage modifiers, right? That's 240 in your
mhm.
hand. You're not going to worry about them, and then you'll kind of figure out if you have to go beyond that by holding an Honedge or a blade in your hand to go beyond that. So it's going to be a very fun single prize archetype. This is another pre-release promo as well, so it's going to be a chase card because it has the fancy stamp. But to me, this is a 4 of, and it's a 4 rating purely because it has to be.
Yeah,
There's no other way to make this deck work unless you're running a 4-4-4 line of this. And the beauty of the stage 2 in this our conversation is you don't need to actually evolve to it. You can just keep it in your hand for damage.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, this is a card where Pokepad will be very popular and very needed
Yeah.
because you can get all your important pieces with Pokepad. Um,
You'd run like
yeah,
four
this
of
is.
Dawn in this deck for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. You get Dawn, Pokepad, Hilda. Um, you have a lot of options with this to make this a fun deck. I actually wouldn't doubt that this can win a cup and actually maybe
Oh yeah.
even do somewhat well in a regional. It's very low to the ground. You're hitting high numbers, and if you can keep with a single board price, like single price board state, it's very hard for your opponent to really keep up with you. It is 100 HP, so
It's frail.
it's frail, but not as frail as other cards are. It can take a Phantom Dive. Um, Once you get two, it'll get knocked out. But at the same time, it's meant to get knocked out every single turn. Like it's not surviving. So that's where you need the Pokemon recycling and really being able to keep your bench going throughout the whole entire game.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last card I want to talk about today is one of the other pack art Pokemon of this set. It is a when it got announced and released, everyone was very shocked that we're getting this type of ability. And it's the Meowth EX. So Meowth EX is a basic colorless Pokemon of 170 HP, so it's on the lower end of an EX, but it has the last ditch catch ability. So when you play this Pokemon from your hand to your bench, you may search a deck for a supporter card, reveal it, put it in your hand. You may only use one ability with last ditch in his name per turn. So, one, what are the other last ditch cards going to be? We'll see that in future sets potentially. But it is a once per turn, when you play from hand to bench, search for your deck for a supporter. We have seen this ability in the past. The Minion V, Jirachi EX, so Tapu Lele GX. So we've seen this hand to bench, search your deck for supporter ability, and we know it's good. It does have attack, tuck tail for 3 colors energy. It does 60. Return this card and all cards attached to it to your hand. It is not good in
You're,
terms of trying to recycle it because 3 energy is a steep cost just to put it back into your hand. And it's no
you're
real.
not attacking with this card. This is a pure support.
Yeah, you would love to be able to cycle through it. Don't get me wrong. You'd love to be able to attack and put it in your hand like old school Shaman. You would love to be able to Shaman loop with this, but you can't. Um, Decks are seeing 2 to 3 ofs easily. It's that good. It's that big of a consistency piece. Some decks would even stretch to try to put 4 in, but I don't think 4 is necessary in most decks. This is one of those cards that the rating does not talk about how great it is. This is a 4. This is probably one of the best cards in the set, but you're only putting 2 to 3 of in your deck. So the rating for the deck is a 2 to 3. I'm honestly closer to 2 than 3. I don't think you really need 3 Meowths, personally, but I can see why you put it in there. It is a 4 of in your collection. No stop, like no. If anyone tries to convince you otherwise, they don't see the value of this card.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I was researching Japanese lists, like I'll see 2 to 3 easily. And a lot of times we're like, okay, yeah, this is our boss for get it, boss game, good GG. But really, with in Japan, they treat this more of a consistency card.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll play me out their um to get their research. They'll get it to get their dawns. It's more about setting up their bench versus using it to close out a game. So because sometimes you're stuck. Like, okay, I have nothing going on. I need to get me out so that way I can get my dawn, or I need to get
Yes.
something to get my bench going.
Yeah. No.
So that's why that card is
Turn.
in there in 2 or 3 versus a 1.
Yeah. Turn one Meowth for a Lily or for your setup a supporter is perfect. No one's saying that's a waste of a Meowth. Ideally, you would say, "Oh, I'm gonna Meowth, grab my boss game." That's always the dream, but you don't need to. Toward the end of the game, getting a boss into the game is so much easier than getting your supporter in the beginning of the game. I remember Tapu Lele GX. You Lele, grab a Bridget, set up your board, and then you just grab your boss through draw later in the game. Like people will say they want to get that boss for game that's easier to find that in game kind of condition. Honestly, like you said, it is so much more important to Ultra Ball for Meowth, Meowth get your Lily, or Meowth get your Crispin, or Meowth get your Dawn. That's more important than getting that boss at the end of the game.
I will say because of the Meowth, you can probably get away with more one of supporters in your deck.
Oh yeah.
Um, we haven't had that in a while because we haven't had a card like this. But when we had Luminion V, when we had Tapu Lele, I wasn't around for Jirachi. I was only around for the other two. But like you can get away with these one ofs because you have a way to search them out versus hopefully drawing into them. So in the last couple of years, we're used to putting 2, 3, 4 of the supporters in our deck just because like we need to find a way to get them. Now we can actually cherry pick them out.
Yep, no, that's exactly it. You can put a lot of one-off supporters because you can cherry pick them whenever you need them. That's 100% correct. Like we said, this is going to be a 2 or 3 of in every deck. This is a hard 4. This is by far the best card in this set. And I will plant my flag on that statement. This card is going to be meta defining and deck defining for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say try to get this when it's cheap, because in a year's time they're not going to reprint this set, and Meowth's price is just going to go up over time. So take advantage now and try to get these Meowths now. And if they will be expensive in the single market right away, you have to be a little patient. You have to open up some packs. You probably have to pull the trigger when it's at the lowest you think it's going to be. But get 4 of these. I don't ever say get a 4 of a Pokemon very often. I think this is one of the times where you really need to jump on this card now before it becomes harder to get a hold of.
And trust me, he doesn't say this lightly. He always tells me, he's like, oh, wait a little bit. A card's not worth that much money. If Dev is saying get it, if you can find a good deal, this is a big deal. Like, this card is going to be so important in every deck. This is going to be the new Fez. This is going to be... We're losing Squawkabilly, so a lot of the decks that we're playing Squawkabilly EX, you definitely need to get me out. That way you can get your consistency out again.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah,
this card's probably going to have its own product of some form, and that's probably going to be the way most people get this card.
Yeah.
So, alrighty. So that's all the Pokemon. That's for a quote-unquote smaller set. It's still 120 cards. It's still a good size set. But there's a lot of impact. There's a lot of things that can happen. There's a lot of fun ideas in this set. And I am very much excited to see how these cards can interact with themselves and then interact with the meta. And there's a whole bunch of different ideas. Like Dean and I, we were talking, and we have like 8 or 9 deck ideas already lined up from cards in this set. So this is going to be a fun time. I hope you guys are excited for it like we are. We will be putting out videos as soon as we can on these cards. The week of this set being released, the first video may be a couple days late because we can't touch them until they're live. But we hope that you guys are going to enjoy them as much as we are.
Oh yeah, I've been already planning. Again, we have 8 to 9 videos of just cards from this set alone. This is not even including new deck archetypes that are going to be introduced because of rotation. There's a lot of new decks that get better because of rotation, which we'll touch as well. But we want to give some time to the perfect order cards and our takes on how they can be played in this game. But yeah, we're excited. It's going to be a fresh breath of air. A lot of people have been complaining about how stale this format's been. So bring in something new. Bring in the rotation. It's going to bring a whole new joy to this game. Granted, I love playing this game no matter what. I've been actually having fun in the Ascended Hero format. So I can't wait for Perfect Order. And then once we get Chaos Rising a couple months later, But if you made it this far in the podcast and video, please like and subscribe to us. We love making this content, and it does help our algorithm, and it just gives our stuff out there in the YouTube space. And we just want to just share our ideas with everyone. But before we go, Dev, what is the one Pokemon that you're the most excited about, other than Meowth?
I would say I'm not the most excited about Meowth. I think Meowth is that good of a card. I think in terms of excitement, in terms of cards that I think will be the most fun to play with, I think Tyrantrum is going to be the most interesting. I am not a mill player by any means. I think that Tyrantrum having a damage component to its attack makes it more palatable to a player like me. But I also love the idea of a fossil deck. Like, those decks don't get enough attention. They always get criticized for being hard to try to execute. And I'm very intrigued to see how this card can survive in the meta because it is a fighting type. So it has a whole bunch of fun little toys, and it's a stage 2, so it has a whole bunch. It has a whole new toy in Rosa, so it's going to be a fun deck to kind of play around with and see if I can make it work and have some fun with it on the ladder.
That's awesome. Yeah. For me, it's a Doublade. Once I saw that card, I got really giddy. I love my metal decks. I love Age Slash. So the fact that we can really, um, really shine the Doublade in that line. It's been a while since we had a decent Age Slash deck. There was the baby Age Slash with that mysterious shield ability, but that kind of fell off really quick. So I love playing the single prize decks, and I think this is going to be another fun, like really high hitting single prizer. So I'm excited to see how we can make this work in our interpretation of that deck. Again, it what let us know your ideas of these new deck archetypes. Like, is there something we're missing? Is there ideas that we can borrow from y'all? Like, let us know in the comments. We're always looking for really creative and nice rogue deck ideas. Again, we just love playing this game, and really understanding rogue decks helps you become a better player in the meta, just because these are the decks that really make you think and make you really get creative and outside the box, and those strategies you can bring with you when you play the decks that you see in more competitive play. So that's why we started this channel. That is our ideology with why we do what we do. But with that, Dev, do you have any final words about Perfect Order, or really anything about what we just talked about in the last two episodes?
I would say I'm excited for rotation. Rotation's always a very fun time to me as a player because you have to reinvent how to make your decks. You have to reinvent yourself as a player. And this set is ushering in a very fun era. It is one of the it's the second set of the Mega ZA kind of era, but it is definitely giving us a different feel. So I'm excited for it. I can't wait to get my hands on the cards and be able to play on the live client and basically just see what rotation really does do to the game.
Yeah, I'm excited for these new cards, see what fun we can do. I'm excited for rotation. It means new rogue decks and new ways of seeing how some old decks can come back into the spotlight. So I'm just ready to play some Pokemon. I can't wait for these cards to come out later this month.
Yep, absolutely. So, with that being said, guys, again, thank you so much for making this far into the video. We greatly appreciate it. And keep an eye out if you haven't already. Again, double check the part 1 of our set review, which is the trainers and the special energy. And be on the lookout again for a rotation analysis that we will be having in the not so distant future. We have talked about rotation. We have talked about how this set is going to impact rotation. But we also want to talk about the cards that are leaving the format. So keep an eye out for that video coming up very shortly. And with that being said, guys, have fun with Perfect Order. Have fun with the TCG. And as always, have fun playing those sneaky decks.
See y'all.